All right, the folks asked a lot of questions for you, Alex, on the message board. Let's plow through these. This is from Ditko Loves Green. If you notice, all the Ditko villains are green in the beginning. Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah.
Doc Ock? It took me a while, too. Any funny convention stories you'd like to share, besides me bugging you?
Funny convention stories. Well, let's see. Here at this Chicago Con, I've probably done maybe about, this is my 4th interview. This is the longest one. I'm really getting tired. My back is hurting me. I'm going to get grumpy very shortly. No, actually, to be honest with you, no. I mean, I'm having a good time doing this. As far as funny convention stories, gosh, you know, I'd almost have to say I can't think of anything off the top of my head, only because 9 times out of 10, when you do a show like this, you're sitting behind your table. You've got people in front of you all day long, looking at artwork, asking questions, possibly getting you to you know, work a commission. Half the time it takes me, if the show starts at 10 and goes till 6, I'm lucky if I get to the restroom by 5:30. So literally, I can't honestly say I haven't really observed too many funny things at shows. I might have heard a couple of funny things, but nothing that I can directly share with the audience.
This is from B-Dog. What's your favorite Spidey issue that you've ever drawn?
Okay, somebody else asked me that, and I gave him probably about a half a dozen. But I think if I had to nail down the favorite, it would have to be Web number 90, which was the 30th anniversary issue, which featured Mysterio. But again, with Mysterio, there's so many cool things that you could do with visuals because it's all optical illusions and things like that. And I got to draw a satchel full of guest stars, and I got to draw Galactus as Venom, and then right. And there was just a lot of fun stuff to draw in that book.
What do you think about the new Amazing Spider-Man movie reboot?
Well, when I first heard that they were going to do it, I was kind of a little bit surprised because right before they announced the reboot, I think a week before that, Tobey Maguire was quoted saying he and Sam Raimi are getting together trying to come up with some new ideas and talking about ideas and things for the 4th Spider-Man movie, and then a week later they say, we're rebooting and we're going to get new people.
Just kidding, yeah.
And so at first I was kind of taken aback, saying, well, why would they do this in the first place and who are they going to get? Yeah. And so I think the end result is I think I liked Andrew Garfield better than Tobey Maguire.
I did too.
I loved Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy, and she could have been Mary Jane as far as I'm concerned, and she would have done that just as well. I like Dennis Leary as Captain Stacy. I had a couple of issues about the Lizard. I mean, of course, I would have liked to have seen him with a snout. And of course, people might have said, well, then he's more like a glorified raptor with a tail, but that wouldn't have bothered me. And I thought they made him too large. I mean, considering that the Lizard was Dr. Connors just basically turning into a lizard, if he would have been 7 feet tall, that would have been enough.
Not all bulked up and muscular.
Right. I always have this thing about the fact that, sure, as comic book fans, we have to believe that Peter Parker, being the little nerdy geek that he was, science geek, could actually sew a Spider-Man costume in the first place.
The biggest superpower he's got, isn't it?
Exactly. So, I mean, hey, he's a science guy. He created his web shooters. That's what I loved about the second one, this one now, the web shooters. But again, now his costume that he created is even more intricate than the first one ever was, and that really bothered me. Thankfully, we still had the mask. We still had red and blue. We had spider emblems. We had the webbing, but I just didn't like some of the nuances that they decide to kick in. And it always seems that when Hollywood gets involved, as great as it is for the industry, they always have to put their 2 cents in about how the costume should be changed, because nobody would walk around looking like that, but let's just make them all in black.
Well, they got to sell more action figures, I think. That's one of the biggest things.
Well, there you go.
Other question, what's the most recent comic you've read?
The most recent comic book I've actually read was probably my own issue of Stan Lee's Mighty Seven #3, which just came out a couple of weeks ago. End of plug.
Donna Mark, what's your opinion? What, in your opinion, is the hardest and easiest aspect of being a comic book artist?
Well, the easiest aspect is the fact that I get to do something, I get to basically, in a way, relive my childhood every day that I'm drawing superheroes.
Nice.
The hardest part of it is knowing that I'm not a kid anymore. I'm getting older, and deadlines are deadlines, and sometimes you really have to work late into the night because whatever it is that comes up. It's not a 9-to-5 job. You work pretty much through the week. You make your own hours, and sometimes it just gets. You just have to fight through the fatigue and keep on working. So that's the hardest.
What's your favorite thing or person to draw? Let's say Spider-Man-ish. Is it Mary Jane? Because you do a hell of a Mary Jane.
Oh, thank you. The favorite, well, I'd say, I'll have to say Spider-Man's probably my favorite guy to draw, although when it comes to doing sketches and things for people, they always ask me, hey, if they ask me what would you like to draw, usually I don't say Spider-Man, because I've done so many of them. I would like to, just for the sake of variety, draw somebody else. I love drawing Hawkman. He was probably one of my favorites at DC. I mean, even though Green Lantern was a big favorite, love drawing some of those. I love drawing a lot of guys that I don't draw on a regular basis.
Spider-Girl, what's the thought process like that you go through before you sit down to draw, and does it change given different stories or situations? What do you think about right before, when you got a blank page in front of you?
What do I think about? Okay, usually that's after breakfast, so I start thinking about what's for lunch. No, actually the way it works is, if I'm starting with page 1, you basically have to read the story that you have in front of you first, just so that you can really try to sink your feet into what it is that you're drawing, and try to start developing images in your mind just from reading the words. Once you've gotten past, let's say, the first couple of pages, generally the following day you look back at what you did the day before, just to kind of almost inspire you and remind you of what it is that you did there, to follow as a setup to continue the flow of the storytelling for the next sequence.
What's the difference between being a comic book artist like on web and a strip artist on the newspapers?
Okay, well, I think the major difference is that with, let's say, the Sunday newspaper strip, even though it is a continuation of what's going on in the dailies, I don't get to pencil the dailies. So for me, generally, I get to work the Sundays 3 months before they get published, and I get to ink the dailies a month before they get published. So Larry actually gets the benefit of seeing what I've drawn while he gets the pencil, and if we have to create any new characters, he gets to basically work off my references. The other difference is, that's definitely notable, is the fact that a comic book page, you can vary the size and shapes of the panels, how much you want to, let's say, do a sequence where maybe you have something could be written as one panel, but you might feel that if you break it up into 2 panels or 3 panels, it might be more effective. Or you could combine 3 panels into one and make a bigger type of a panel for more impact, dynamics, and action. Whereas the strip, basically all 6 panels are the same size, so even though you can still draw anything you need to draw in, let's say, a rectangular type of a frame like that, although sometimes what is called for really aches for a vertical panel or a horizontal panel, within those confines you still can get the job done, and just have to be a little bit of a challenge in how you're going to work it.
Something I've seen recently, Larry did a 3-panel spread. It was like a one-shot. I saw that recently.
Yes, I mean, I guess maybe that's just the way Stan wrote it, and figured anything that he needed to cover could be done in that one big panel.
Yeah, gotcha.
Or actually, at some point, maybe, quite honestly, that shouldn't be etched in stone, because maybe it was written as 2 panels, and Larry might have called Stan up and said, hey Stan, maybe we can even do this as 1, and I'll show you the layout, and Stan gets to approve that before he finishes the pencils.